Buenos dias, sleepyheads. All right, so on my way to the metro, it is 5 in the morning in La Condesa, Mexico City. So it's about a 2 to 3 minute walk from the metro station to the airport terminal. Making this walk, I just remembered how on Saturday I got over 20,000 steps on this travel day, so I'm kind of curious what today will bring. So the metro took about an hour. It's 6 o'clock now. Again, my flight leaves at 8, so plenty of time to hit a lounge, and I will see you guys inside. All right, made it through security, and I'm gonna correct myself when I said it was a 2 to 3 minute walk from the metro. It's much longer than that because that's to gate 1. I had to go to, I think it was like gate 8. So departures are on the far end of the terminal, which is where my gate is as well. So I always like to try and find my gate first, and then I will find a lounge. All right, found the gate, and I think that must just be like a new section of Terminal 1. So I'm gonna go to the original section. Looks like that's where all the lounges are. So now I'm walking against traffic back to the other side, and I'm up to 4,800 steps, and it's a little past 6 a.m. All right, cool. So with this business class upgrade, I got access to the American Airlines Admirals Lounge. So having a molete, like I did yesterday, with a coffee, and I'm just gonna sit back for a little while. It's the first time I've ever been in an Admirals Lounge. It's nice. All right, so just got a second plate of fruit with some papaya and watermelon. But thought I'd give you a brief tour, because this will be brief. It's not that big of a lounge. And I would guess this was built in the 1980s because it still feels dated that way, which is okay. Coffee and hot water. Buffet food. And then up front is more water. This is the front desk and the bar. And that's where I got my Americano. So I also got this cornbread, which being from the American South, of course I'm gonna get cornbread. But this is much sweeter, much sweeter. I like it, and this is my second piece already. Gracias. All right, so that may have been a mistake to go to the Admirals Lounge, but like I said, I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get to do that again, but I just passed, and I saw it on the way to the Admirals Lounge. I just passed the Priority Pass Lounge, the Grand Lounge Elite, which just look absolutely boss. I'm gonna have to remember that next time I'm in Mexico City Airport, which I do plan on returning, as I've already mentioned. I still have about $30 worth of pesos in my pocket, and I've got one more train pass on my Metro card. So to the gate, I didn't want to be late. This is the first time I've ever had Priority 1 boarding, so I want to take advantage of that. And if you hung with me this far, I'm flying to Dallas and then connecting to Atlanta. I've got one more lounge experience in Dallas, which is actually one of my favorite lounges, the Capital One Lounge. And when I get there, I will share my thoughts on Mexico City. perk walk. Alright, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Global entry is the coolest thing and the scariest thing all at the same time. Absolute breeze getting through, completely skipped the line, and then you take all of like a minute to get through. Never even looked at the passport because with facial recognition, they knew who I was. Alright, so on the wait list for the Capital One Lounge. Very foggy day here in Dallas. In fact, when we were landing, I never even saw anything from outside the window until we touched down. And that was my first international business flight. And I've always heard people say that once you've flown internationally, again, granted it was a short flight, 3 hours. Once you've flown internationally on business, you'll never want to go back, and put me in that crowd. I get it. Had a pretty good breakfast, scrambled eggs, little croissant, mushroom, olives, and yeah, I adored it. Another thing, on the flight, I watched the movie Frida, and now I have another reason to go back to Mexico City because I knew nothing about Frida Kahlo, and going to see her La Casa Azul will be another thing to do in Mexico City. So let's talk a little bit more about Mexico City, and we'll start first with safety. I know it expressed some concerns in the Atlanta airport, and I can safely say that all of those concerns, as I thought, were proved unwarranted. La Condesa, that neighborhood I highly recommend. I can't wait to go back and explore. I felt really bad because I was actually just starting to learn the neighborhood, and it was time to go. Traveling on the metro, completely safe. I don't know. It just seems like it's just one of those instances where if you listen to the media, you're going to be scared, and you're just going to stay in place and be immobile, and that's not how I want to live. So I highly recommend going to Mexico City. All right, second thing, language. I did enjoy the fact that Spanish was the default language because I really needed to practice my Spanish. And I caught myself kind of not listening because I was assuming what they were asking me and trying to in my head follow along with the conversation instead of actually listening to what the people were saying and then responding in kind. So I'm really looking forward to get back into a culture where I can practice my Spanish, and I'm certain I'll do that soon. And with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. I'm going to sit here and enjoy the Capital One Lounge and with one of my favorite pastimes, which is just watching the airplanes come and go. And with that, I'm going to end the video and then board my flight home to Atlanta, and then hopefully make plans for the next adventure. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe so you can find out where my next destination is going to be. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.